Hello and welcome to This Week in Barbados. I'm Lisa Broom. For the next 30 minutes, I'll bring you up to date with the highlights of the week. We have news, sports, entertainment, and of course, Bajan lifestyle. So let's get going. Last week, we told you about the elevation of Dame Sandra Mason to the post of President of Barbados. She's the first person and, by extension, the first woman to hold that position. So it got us thinking about other women in high-ranking positions in Barbados, and what we found, well, it was certainly heartening. Take a look at this story.
Put a woman in front, come! Put a woman in front! Put a woman in front to lead this country!
Those were the words of Calypsonian TC way back in 1994, calling for women to be given more leadership positions in Barbados. Now, some 27 years later, that has indeed happened. But of course, not without a serious and sometimes dangerous struggle, as contextualized coincidentally by the island's first female Prime Minister, Mia Amor Markley, during the joint sitting of Parliament to finalize the elevation of a woman to the highest position on the island.
Like the Leader of the Opposition, I take pride in the fact that it is a woman of the soil to whom this honor is being given and conferred by the members of both houses of Parliament. Like the Leader of the Opposition, I know only too well the journey that it has taken for women to come to any position that they did not hold before, and the extent to which it has been the subject of all kinds of difficulties and, regrettably, in some instances, misogyny. I know only too well that those of us for whom that honor is given come not to be the first ever, but come to ensure that we will never be the last. And Mr. Speaker, I believe that that is the position of the person whom we have now elected as our first woman president, but also our first president of this nation, Barbados.
After an almost unanimous vote, Dame Sandra Mason was voted as the first president of Barbados, one of the first steps to the island becoming a republic. While Dame Sandra holds the highest position on the island, she is by no means the only woman in a leadership position. In fact, a check will show just how many women head various organizations on the island. We begin with Prime Minister Mia Amor Markley, whose Barbados Labour Party swept the electoral polls in 2018, taking all seats in the House of Assembly en route to becoming the island's first female Prime Minister. Another attorney, Barbara Cook Allen, was appointed Registrar of the Supreme Court in 2014 after spending 12 years as a magistrate. Then there is Donna Bab Agard, the first female Director of Public Prosecution, who was elevated to the post in 2018. The Chiefs of Education and Agriculture, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw and Keely Holder, are among the recent appointees. They are also the youngest to have ever held these posts. Similarly, Democratic Labour Party, one of the island's oldest political parties, is led by Verla de Pisa. An attorney, Ms. de Pisa has been president of the party since 2018. The oldest trade union on island, the Barbados Workers' Union, is headed by Tony Moore. Ms. Moore has held the post since 2014. These achievements, according to interim president of the National Organization of Women, Evelyn Broom Christie, are signal.
I would want to say yes, that it does make a difference. It might not make a difference to every young woman, but I'm sure that there's a little girl out there watching and dreaming that one day she could be in such a position. She could be president of the land. She could be prime minister of the land. I know in the argument for president, people keep talking about having someone in place who looks like her. And certainly this is something that should be embraced.
But women are not only leading in governance, they're also in charge of the private sector. The Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners is headed by General Practitioner Dr. Linda Williams. The Barbados Private Sector Association is led by Tricia Tannis, a chartered professional accountant. Mrs. Tannis manages one of the island's leading retail companies. The Small Business Association is headed by Senator Dr. Lynette Holder. She's a management consultant who's led the SBA since 2007. Rosalind Smith Miller leads the Barbados Bar Association. Called to the bar in 1987, she specializes in intellectual property law. Women also hold leadership positions within the sports arena. Sandra Osborne, president of the Barbados Olympic Association, as well as chair of the International Tennis Federation's Ethics Commission and honorary legal advisor to the Commonwealth Games Federation. Now, with women in these positions, the question has been asked whether it means a change in the power structure or even the way things are done. We put the question to Dr. Tonya Haynes, the acting head of the Institute for Gender and Development Studies. She pointed out that women have always been central to how Barbados has been run and is organized.
At the same time that you can have change and a lot of progressive change, you can also have, the persistence of very entrenched kinds of injustice. So for me to say that what we are seeing is a shift in power relations or a change in power, I would need more evidence other than just the women leaders taking their rightful place as leaders and being recognized as such, but a lot of other areas of injustice that we see manifest in society would also have to be addressed.
So how do Barbadians feel about women in these influential positions?
I think it would inspire younger women to achieve their goals and to know that, everything is possible. It's possible to break that glass ceiling.
I have no problem with women being the head of nothing. Women was the head of household for years, and be head of a company now, it don't make no difference to me. I realize that the men is not looking to better themselves, and if the women take over, there's no problem.
Females constitute, I think, slightly the majority of our population. In every way, they're intellectually capable, technically capable. I see no reason that if this is a meritorious society, that females should not get what they deserve.
Women also lead in the education system as well, with 51 of the 68 primary school principals being female. At the secondary school level, there are 6 female principals out of 21. There are 17 female permanent secretaries out of 23 in total. As TC said, women in front.
Put a woman in front. Put a woman in front. Put a woman in front to lead this country. Hey.
This Week in Barbados continues in just a moment with a look at our COVID-19 response. Welcome back. There were some positive indications on the economic front in Barbados last week. Central Bank Governor Cleviston Haynes said things were moving in the right direction, with some growth being recorded over the last 6 months, mostly in the tourism sector.
Economic activity registered a second consecutive quarter of growth during July to September, rising by an estimated 10% relative to the corresponding period in 2020. The improved performance was much stronger than the April to June quarter, reflecting the combined effects of the expansion in private spending and the strengthening of the recovery in the tourism sector. However, these gains were not enough to reverse the substantial first quarter contraction resulting from the national pause and the exceptionally weak performance of tourism during the pivotal winter season. For the first 9 months of the year, economic activity was therefore estimated to be approximately 3% below the corresponding period 1 year ago.
And the bank projected growth of about 1 to 2% for the final quarter and growth of about 7 and 9% for 2022. Now, to a story that has generated significant amount of discussion here in Barbados. It started with an announcement by the Ministry of Health that visitors to Barbados will no longer be required to take a COVID-19 test on arrival, nor will they have to quarantine as long as they're fully vaccinated against the deadly virus and present a negative PCR test result. A few days after the announcement, Health Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic defended the decision in a nationally televised media conference. He said significantly more cases were being recorded daily in the community than the positive cases coming in at the ports of entry in a month.
So we are facing with a situation where the main thrust, the main effort, the main battle that we've been fighting for months, which really was at the airport, the port of entry, because the focus, the aim at that point in time was to try to keep the virus out of the country, keep the variants out of the country, or delay them, because we always recognize that we were not going to be able to stop COVID from entering this country, just like any other country in the world. So that was the main effort. But when we move to a situation that we are in at this point of serious community transmission, the vast majority of our positive cases are within our communities. So the main effort, our battlefield has shifted from the port of entry to the communities.
Minister Bostic did say they have not ruled out the possibility to changing the protocols at the airport if necessary. Now, the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. said the response to the announcement has already been overwhelming, but neither the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners nor a government MP, who is also a doctor, support the decision. In fact, BAMP said it was not even at the table when the decision was made.
I'm still having a very low percentage of persons vaccinated here. We would still have a risk of being exposed to those people who, even though vaccinated, can transmit the virus to the people here. So those are two areas of cause for concern. However, we think that there's not only one fit. We are thankful that there will still be random testing, which is a surveillance method of persons coming in. They will be subjected to rapid testing. That's what we see in the protocol. And so there's still some measure of surveying the person when they come into the country. And of course, then we would be able, if those persons test positive, to subject them to variant testing as well.
And on the topic of COVID, well, Barbados saw a record number of deaths over the last week, with the most being 8 on October 24th. All told, up to October 28th, 151 people lost their lives to the viral illness. It's time for another break, but we'll have more This Week in Barbados in just a moment.
Okay.
October is observed as Breast Cancer Month, and in today's program, we hear from 2 breast cancer survivors in Barbados. They sat down with Lisa Lord of the Public Affairs Department, starting with Mavis Smith.
My first experience with breast cancer was when my mom was diagnosed in 2002. And it was a little scared at first because we always hear about someone in your family had to have it before, but my mother was the first to have breast cancer. And she had both her breasts removed. About 8 years after my mother's diagnosis, I myself was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm accustomed to feeling lumps in my breasts from as early as 13 years old. And it's only after I had about three lumps before. And that is when I felt the fourth one is when the doctor allowed me to know that I have fibrocystic breasts. And saying that I was already in hospital, I got another surgery. I got the lump removed, and it's only after they did the biopsy then that they come and tell me that it was cancerous. I discovered the lumps by self-examination. I always do my own self-examination. Or, as I keep telling my children, play with the girls. They're yours. I was scared at first because I was thinking about my 2 daughters. My 2 daughters was teenagers at that time, so they were my main focus. Well, honestly, for me, at first, saying that I am accustomed going to him to get lumps removed, I tell him, well, we can do the same thing. And if it's cancerous because of my mother, if it's cancerous, whatever we have to do it. And then after the biopsy, he said I have to get chemotherapy and radiation. It took me six months before my first chemotherapy treatment. Chemotherapy was rough. It was rough. I lost all my hair. And for someone that had long, thick hair, to lose it all, it was not easy. Then it was like they had no taste, nothing, they had any taste. Sometimes these saints can't smell nothing, and when you do smell something, sometimes it is too much for you. So then you become nauseous and can't eat, and then like chemotherapy give you cravings as though you're pregnant. So I started to get some weird cravings. Funny hours of the night I get up to eat cucumbers. That's the first time I ever ate a cucumber with the skin on. Right? And that's how I wanted it. So it's between cucumbers and apples. And radiation was a breeze. Just uncomfortable because you cannot get the area wet. So you have to bathe one side and then make sure that when you go to the other side, it don't get wet at all. I think honestly that my breast cancer is a blessing because it helped me to help people. Other people probably see cancer as a curse, but for me, it was a blessing. My daughters, they tried to look brave, but in the back of their mind, they was saying that they lost their grandmother with cancer, then to have their mother have cancer. They were scared, but then I keep reassuring them, no, this cancer is not going to take me nowhere. I can fight this to the end, and I intend to survive. So we will do what we're supposed to do, and we will survive. No stress, no nothing, no bad energy, nothing. And my sisters, up to now, my sisters, I have sisters that refuse to go and get a mammogram because they are scared, saying that I always searching. They know that I always do my own. So they said I always searching. So because I was searching, I found it. But I tell them, I search, I found, and I get treatment for it. And just anything else, cancer, take medication.
My first experience with breast cancer started with my sister. She discovered she had breast cancer in 2010. And this was strange for us because we did not have cancer in our family. So her diagnosis was like, cancer? But we tackled it together. I was with her when she was diagnosed. I was with her throughout most of her treatment, doctor visits, and her final stages, I was with her. So she would have succumbed in 2014, but she did everything. She did the chemo, she recovered, and then the cancer came back very aggressive. So she succumbed in 2014. Well, I discovered my lump the next year, 2015 actually, and I went to about 3 doctors before I was actually diagnosed. Because I discovered the lump, I told them about my sister's history. They were like, oh, it's just no problem, it's nothing serious. But I was uncomfortable, so I still continued. The 3rd doctor I went to, he did an ultrasound in his office. And he said, there's nothing to worry about. It's, it seems to be good, but I'm going to do further tests. So he did send me for further tests, and I went back to Cancer Society because I had previously done a mammogram the year before. So when I went back, it was like, I wasn't frightened, but in my mind, I knew the possibility exists. And they said, come in, we need you to come in and pay for this. Because we were, and I was like, why are they calling me in? This sounds very fishy, So I went in and I paid for the this and everything. And then I got a call right after the doctor saying they want to see me right away. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I can go to the doctor, but I ain't telling nobody because I don't want nobody to accompany me. As I said, my family knows was going through this. So just before my daughter then asked the evening, but then she remembered, she said, Mommy, what happened? I said, I have to go to the doctor. She said, I go in with you. So I couldn't get out of that. So we went back to the doctor. And when I went back to the doctor, he, I guess he was, but then he told me they did discover the lump and they need to do further tests and everything like that. And he would send me to the surgeon that he would use himself. And he tried to reassure me. And I was referred to the surgeons. The surgeon would have done the biopsy in his office there and then. I wasn't even expecting it, but he did the biopsy in his office there and then. He said he would send it off and go, I went and paid to have it set off and everything like that. So when the results came back, I think you pay either for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I can't remember which one I chose. But when that happened and I went back, he was like, yes, it did come back cancerous. And it is stage, I can't remember if he said it was stage 2, but eventually I found out it was stage 2. And he wanted to do the operation as soon as possible. I remember this was like August 6th. And I was like, no, you can't do this operation right away because my birthday is at the end of this month. And I was like, no, I'm looking forward to my 50th birthday, And I even told him, no, I'm not sick. So when you do the surgery, you're going to make me sick. So I celebrated my birthday and then I would get sick after. And he was thinking about I would remove one breast. I said, no, I'm removing both. And he looked at me like, I said, yeah, I'm removing both. I'm going through this again with no breasts, and, Because in my mind, that did not define me. Breasts don't define me or anything like that. And, I realized it was a fight. And I have to fight for me. And I was prepared to fight. The surgery was really good, to be honest. It was... I didn't even, well, obviously I don't know, but I come out and the others was there. My sisters came, my friends came. I had a really good support system. And my friends came and everything like that. And the recovery process was not bad, to be honest with you, because I did nothing. My friends made sure I did nothing. I didn't cook. I didn't even walk with a bag. If I had a bag, I remember my sister got a hold of it. I did absolutely nothing. My family took care of me throughout that whole process. So I was able to heal and recover. The chemo, to be honest, I didn't like it, but I figured, I'm going to do this. And I was prepared. I know that you lost your hair. I went and I cut off all my hair. I used to keep my hair really low, so cutting it off was not a big deal. I always used to keep it low. So I went and I cut my hair in preparation. I went to the I did all sorts of things. I shot my girls. I went and prepared like for this thing that because I ain't coming back out unless I needed to. But the chemo process was not bad. I didn't like the sensation of, the strange sensation that was going through your body. I really don't like that because, as I said, this is a foreign subject. This wasn't made to be in my body. So sitting down there and watching this going through your body, I don't like that, to be honest. I don't like that. I find for persons that went through cancer, everything we blame on the cancer. So if you get a fingernail hurt, you're going to be like making sure it ain't cancerous, But then you go talk to yourself and say, you know what, it ain't cancer or something like that. But that's how it goes. So I said to people, get somebody to go with you. But to ladies, I always tell my group, there's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about anybody in our group. And if we have done it, we have beaten, you can do it too.
In sports, Barbadian Mark Seeley is the USA's over 60s men's national squash champion. Seeley, who went into the U.S. Nationals in Philadelphia as the top seed, did not drop a single game all tournament. And in the final, he defeated Tony Brett Kelly to lift the title.
In the semifinals on the all-glass court, I came up against a guy called Richard Williams. I had a good first game. He came back in his second game to 9-all, but I managed to steady and take it 11-9, and then took the third pretty easily. So it was into the final against Tony Brett Kelly, who is a former U.S. national player. I remember playing him back in 1993 in Colombia, and he beat me very, very soundly then. But I went in with the same clear game plan. I felt very, very sharp on the day. I think it's from all the training and the assistance from all the coaches. And I came out, it was a really good game. I think it was 4-4-3 in the game. So I felt really good and pleased about it. It's been a long time getting to this place of actually winning a U.S. title.
Two national boxers left the island last week excited and grateful for the opportunity to represent Barbados. Jabali Breedy and Charles Cox are competing in the Men's World Boxing Championships in Belgrade, Serbia, which started from October 26th and runs until November 6th, after a one-week training stint in Ireland.
First thing first, I gotta work on my movement and attacking more, doing more attacking because boxing is changing up a lot. Like you gotta do more attacking.
For me, the past 2 years of not really having much competition was kind of rough, to be honest. It's still playing regular work, or the bag work, or pad work, strength and conditioning. But actual sparring, actual physical contact for me is really needed because a bag don't hit back, hand pads don't always hit back. So it's a lot different, right? Coming down here, for me, my main weakness was my defense most of all. So that's something I really try to work on, which for the time I've been here have really improved in my eyes and in my coach's eyes. So I believe I've gotten a lot better and ready for these games.
That was This Week in Barbados. It was a pleasure bringing you the news and interviews of Barbadians who made the highlights. We'll be back again very soon with another Week in Barbados. I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you for joining us.